Hello, everyone. My name is always Asmal. Welcome to another episode of Tooways to Skin a Cat, a show where we talk career experiences, entrepreneurship, and investments. The main aim is to show that there's more than one way to be successful other than just climbing the corporate ladder. We are live on YouTube and on LinkedIn, and a reminder that you'll be available on podcast by tomorrow morning. If you are watching live, please drop a one in the comments, and if you're watching the recording, please drop a two in the comments so that we know we're not talking to ourselves. My guest for this week is Ronel Jooste, chartered accountant, entrepreneur, award-winning author, and host of the Ronel Talks Money Show. Ronel, thanks so much for joining me today.
Tooways, thank you so much for inviting me. And I always watch your show, so I'm really excited to be the guest today.
Brilliant. So let's start with the most important question. Tell us your story. Where do you come from outside of work? Who is Ronel Jooste? Give us that backstory.
Okay, so like you mentioned, I'm a chartered accountant. I've completed my articles at PricewaterhouseCoopers, and then I've joined the Momentum Group. So I was there for 10.5 years. I was head of group financial reporting, and I was there throughout the merger with Metropolitan. So that was quite a unique and interesting experience. But I always had this thing of I wanted to become a businesswoman. I don't know, something about it just always attracted me. And then at the end of 2015, I started my own businesses. I left the corporate world. My sister and I started a guest house in Centurion in April 2016. So we are actually turning 5 years old tomorrow. So that is a big milestone for us, because you can imagine coming from the financial services industry, being an accountant, and all of a sudden being in the hospitality industry, completely different. So that was a very interesting, challenging, and a unique experience. But it was definitely hard and difficult, but I really enjoy every second of the experience. It's a lovely industry to be part of. And yes, unfortunately, we've been hit hard due to COVID, but we are slowly picking up again. And apart from that, my sister and I also have Physique Fit Wellness. That is where we combine physical, emotional, and financial wellness, because I'm also very passionate about fitness, and I've completed my diploma in personal fitness training. So I basically bring in the physical and the financial wellness, and she is a psychologist, so she brings in the emotional wellness. And then from there, I've also started Financially Fit Group, where I focus on financial consulting and training on both business and personal finances. So I've done quite a couple of diverse things, and I think that is really the beauty of being an entrepreneur. You can really do whatever you can imagine. And apart from that, like I said, I'm a fitness fanatic. I run almost every day. I'm in the gym. I play golf. And yes, I love just being with my family and friends. I absolutely love traveling. And I think that is, in a nutshell, what Ronel Jooste is all about.
Okay, so as soon as the races start again, you'll be back at running the races, I take it.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it sounds like you're doing a lot of things: financial coach, author, talk show host. What is your main, or is everything your main hustle, for lack of a better word?
I think I'm passionate about a lot of different things, But for me, it's all about, I think, creating financial and time freedom. So I've tried with all of my businesses to build it up to a stage where it can pretty much run independently from me. So our guest house is already at that stage where we have brilliant staff, and they can pretty much run with the guest house themselves. But also on the financial side, I've converted a lot of my programs, my courses, to online programs and courses. And that helps a lot because I can, that can basically also run independently from me. So that is my aim, to try and do things in a way that I can have time to really do what I love and what I enjoy. And then it basically creates time for me to do things on a project basis, whatever that I enjoy and that I love doing.
Okay. Buying time. Okay, I like it. It makes a lot of sense. You mentioned earlier that you worked at Metropolitan Momentum or MMI Group for 11 years. Millennials and Gen Z generally don't work at places for so long. In hindsight, would you still recommend it? And what were the advantages and disadvantages of being at the one company for so long?
I think there's definitely pros and cons to it. If I have to think back, and I think especially because of the merger that basically happened 5 years into me being at Momentum, so that was a whole different kind of ball game, and it gave us a lot of totally unique and different experiences. But I think what was for me nice, because I was on a group level, so I had that kind of overall picture of the whole group. So I had a lot of exposure to insurance, both long-term and short-term, the medical aid board, investments, unit trusts, basically all the kind of new ventures, the Africa businesses. And that was, I think, what was really keeping me there for quite long. And then also on a group level, it's not very routine work. So it's kind of, every year there's something new and different. And I really, you learn a lot. And I think by the time when I left, I really had such amazing overall experience of the total group. So I think that is definitely the benefits of staying long at a certain company. But then again, I think it can also be for your benefit if you move around into different industries. Because now what I'm doing now, working with a lot of businesses and entrepreneurs, I really enjoy all the different various, industries and getting involved and learning about all of that. And so I think there's definitely pros and cons to it.
And I'm sure it's a totally different environment from a corporate group structure level to working with startups. The most important things are very, very different.
No, it is. It is absolutely. It is completely different. And but I think what a nice thing is for me, because I have that kind of corporate experience. I know what the successful companies are doing, how they are managing their processes, their business. And I think it's basically bringing back all of that experience to your SMEs and who often don't have the resources in terms of people, systems, knowledge, and just equip them and share knowledge and really help them to also create a stable business.
No, that makes sense. I like what you mentioned earlier about, the merger happened 5 years in. So you might have had a very, or I don't know, I assume you had a similar kind of job for the 5 years. A lot of the youngsters talk about this 3 year each. After 3 years, they need to figure out what else do I need. Now I need to figure out something else. Whereas you kept it for 5 years before things started changing. Am I correct in my assumption?
No, when I started out at Momentum, I was first in internal audit for the first 2 years. And that I also really enjoyed, because that gives you really, from an operational point of view, you really get to understand, the underlying processes and products and those kind of things. And then I moved into financial reporting. So that kind of knowledge and background really helped me a lot when I moved into the reporting space, because I could understand kind of how things end up in the ledger and in the financial statements. And that was definitely a benefit. So I think mine was more 2 years and then 3 years. And then it got into the merger. But with the merger, it was literally different things every year. So we obviously, you can think for yourself, we were on different ledgers, on different chart of accounts, different consolidation systems. Everything was different, and we had to kind of find ways to make it work and to bring it together. We had the Section 37, where we transferred the Metropolitan Company into the Momentum Company. There was due diligence. I cannot even remember everything that we had to do. But it was really a lot of different projects on top of our normal financial reporting work. So it was interesting. And I think now, looking back at it, I really appreciate the experience that I gained from it. Obviously, when you were there, it was extremely tough, long hours that we had to work, and lots of frustrations because of all the manual intervention we had to put in there, and had to understand the total new group that we had to bring into the results and those kind of things. But looking back at it, I think I definitely gained a lot from that experience.
Okay, I mean, that's an interesting thought. So basically, it's from what I'm getting from that, it's up to you to keep your work challenging, to look for new things to do. I mean, you move from internal audit to reporting. So even though you were in the same company, you change your roles, and that keeps the hunger and keeps you interested. Because if you're sitting in the same role for a long time, I can understand why you'd want to move. So that makes a lot of sense. A reminder that you will be responding to questions towards the end. So if you've got any questions for Ronel, please add them to the comment section now, so that we don't miss them. So now there's the show called Ronel Talks Money Show. What is it about? Who is your target audience, and where can we watch it?
Okay, Tooways, I think I've started the Ronel Jooste Dream Foundation in I think it was end of 2018, because I'm very passionate about financial education, and it was all about taking financial literacy and entrepreneurship out to the community and to the public. So in 2018 and 19, I was doing a lot of physical workshops and talks and those kind of things. But then obviously with lockdown, that was no longer possible. And then I decided, okay, let me rather do a Ronel Talks Money Show. So I started it out as kind of blog interviews, where I interview either like very successful business leaders or experts on certain finance-related topics. And then when that was kind of, like I said, the beginning of lockdown last year in April. And then as it progressed, I realized, but a lot of people would probably enjoy watching it more. And then I converted it into kind of interviews on my YouTube channel. So all of the talks are available on the Ronel Jooste Financially Fit Life YouTube channel. And I really, the aim with it is to educate people about finances. So we talk about different kind of topics from different type of investments, property investments. We have some talks about debt management, how to identify scams, all those kind of things. But I think a big thing is to also introduce people to alternative investments that quite often people are not familiar with, and people are sometimes only kind of looking at the traditional investments and never really look wider in terms of what other kind of investments are there that can maybe generate better returns for me or that suit me better. And I'm really trying to bring in all of those aspects into the show, from global investments, property development funding, which is again a complete different investment opportunity, but really interesting. And so it's just all about trying to bring financial knowledge and education to the people and help them to make better financial decisions, but also to go on a journey to create financial freedom at the end.
Okay, no, great. Talk to us a little bit about, just to clarify in terms of those alternative investments. You mentioned property development, you mentioned investing internationally. Is there anything else that's also talked about from an alternative investment for the audience?
Yeah, I've done a couple of ones. I've also done on impact farming, which I think is also a very interesting new kind of venture where you can invest in things that can really not only benefit yourself, but you can also help the communities out there in terms of creating jobs. You can invest in solar panels, those kind of things that can really make a difference in the bigger South Africa. So those were some of the things. Like I said, the property development funding is also a very interesting concept, because there you don't buy into a property or a property fund. You basically almost provide the funding in a loan structure to the property development company, and you basically get fixed returns, but you get a return of between 15 and 18%. So you need to invest for 1 year only, and then you can obviously roll it as the developments get completed. So your returns are really great. There's not a lot of risk involved to it, but it's something different. It's not kind of we are used to more investing in your completed properties. So there's again a different scenario that's just I believe worthwhile for people to look into, because you will not really find a lot of investments in a kind of a short term, in terms of a year's space, that can really provide you with that kind of return.
It sounds very interesting. I think that's something I want to look at. I've also done something on the impact farming. I've actually expected it to take off a little bit more than it has, but I'm still watching that space. Anyway, that's just my thought. Let me just move over to, so you've written a book. What is the book about, and where can the audience find it?
Yeah, so the book I've published in 2019, and it's called Financially Fit and Wealthy. It is available on my website, roneljooste.com. It's both in hard copy and also an ebook. And it is all about finances, personal finances. But it's very comprehensive, really starting out from setting financial goals to budgeting, debt management, different kind of investments, retirement, emergency funds. I'm also talking about your thinking patterns and how that will impact on the money decisions you are making. But I think what makes the book interesting or different from your normal financial book is I've basically combined my two passions, which is finances and fitness, into this book. So I would literally, for every kind of financial concept, I would explain that or compare that to a concept that you will follow if you want to get fit or you want to lose weight, and to make those comparisons, which is really interesting, because I think we often don't really think that finances and getting financially fit is actually a lot similar to getting fit for a race or losing weight. And there I would, for example, compare unit trusts to going through the circuit in the gym and explain it to people in that kind of way. So I think that is almost like a two in one, where you can get both physically and financially fit reading the book. So it's in a very kind of easy to understand way. And I think my whole aim with the book is just, again, to educate people about finances and help them to make better financial decisions.
So if fitness is something you're very interested in, and you're quite good at, and you're interested in improving your finances, that's definitely a book to read. I'm just going through. I don't see any questions, so I'm assuming we've answered all the questions in our discussion. Any last words from you, or anything that we didn't discuss that you'd like the audience to know? Anything that you're passionate about?
Yeah, I think one thing that I'm very passionate about, and I feel strongly about, is during this lockdown period, I was contacted by so many people who said to me, listen, we really need to find a way to create more income. We had job losses in our family, or somebody was retrenched, or we didn't get a bonus. We would like to start a business, but we don't know how, we don't know where to start. How can we do it? So I had a lot of those discussions. And later on, I realized, but I wish, if I think of myself, going back to when I started my first business, I wish I had somebody who could just basically, tell me all of these things. What do I need to know in terms of where do I register? What kind of business entity will work the best? What's the different marketing options? What's the tax implications? And what's the best way to structure my business? And I felt I wasted a lot of money and time to, figure it out myself and pay coaches for months to try and figure things out. And isn't there just a way that people can tell me in a simple way, how can I really start a business successfully? And then I have developed a course where it's going to be like a 2-day face-to-face course, where I'm literally going from A to Z in terms of how you can start a business, what are all the things you need to consider, what do you need to take into account, what do you need to do. And at the end of the course, the idea is that you walk out of there with a complete business plan customized to your business, so that you can also use that for funding purposes, or to attract investors, or just for general planning for your business. And then thereafter, the online course will also be available. So I think this is currently a big need. A lot of people are moving towards starting businesses. starting a side hustle. And I think that is so positive, because from a South African and economy point of view, I think this is exactly where we need to head to. And it's really about helping those people to not waste as much money and time, and get up and running and be set up for success from the start. And I think that is something that I'm also very passionate about, to really help entrepreneurs to set it up correctly from the start, and to have a better chance to make a success of that business. Because what I'm always saying is, just imagine if every business or aspiring entrepreneur can be self-sustainable and maybe just employ 1 or 2 more people. Just think about the impact it can have in South Africa in terms of creating more jobs and creating a better standard of living for everybody.
Definitely. I think the big companies are not the ones that are hiring at this point in time. It's always the entrepreneurs are the ones that are creating jobs. So just a reminder to everyone that the show is live on YouTube and will be available on podcast site tomorrow. If you are watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast and you feel that this has added value to you, don't forget to like and subscribe so that you get automatically notified when the next episode comes out. A reminder about our weekly discussion on Clubhouse about business and investing in South Africa. Join us on Mondays at 5 p.m. And send me a note if you need an invite. It's still only open to iPhone, but it's going to be open to Android by next month, apparently. So please do join us. I'll be sending out information about the next episode soon. Ronel, thank you so much for your time. I sincerely appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. It was a lovely discussion, and well done to you on everything you're doing. I think you are doing an amazing job.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining us for another episode of Tooways to Skin a Cat. Goodbye.